Patreon. Thank you so very much for your subscriptions. If you're interested in supporting the channel in that way, you can go to patreon.com and look up Angelgeist and choose a subscription level. Over there, you get the daily forecast a day early, and also other readings that are available only over there each month, depending on the level of subscription service that you choose. This is a broad spectrum reading for the month of February of 2021 for the sign of Capricorn. If you have a sun, moon, or rising in Capricorn, you may want to watch this, or if you have heavily placed planets, which would be 3 or more in the sign of Capricorn, you may want to watch this just to get an idea of what kind of February you could be experiencing. It is broad spectrum, so therefore you kind of need to take what I say and sort of leave the rest. Figure out where it best fits in your life. If it doesn't make any sense, that's okay. It could be that your houses or the placements, the degrees, all of that stuff factors in. So nothing is going to, necessarily be 100% accurate, but it doesn't mean anything's wrong. You could have other planets that are getting more of a hit as to what's happening in the sky, all of that. But if you do watch this and it does make sense, and some of it, you can fit it into your life, know that any decisions you make in your life, in your personal life, after having watched any of my videos are solely your responsibility. Never take anything that I say over that of a professional in their field, like a doctor, lawyer, or a therapist. Always listen to them first and foremost, okay? So let's get into this and see where these cards are at. The guide card for the month is from the Power Animal Oracle cards for the Earth signs. Thank you, by the way, Capricorn, for being so patient. You guys are the last sign for this month because you guys just went through Capricorn season. So I appreciate you guys bringing up the rear, as they say. So let's see what's going on for Capricorn. Okay, we've got opossum, which is strategy. It says have a backup plan. Interesting. Huh, that's a strange one. Strategy and having a backup plan. I kind of get a feeling too, because opossums are like they're night animals, right? They're nocturnal. Right? So they move around at night. They do most of their busy work at night. And they tend to be pretty docile animals, which I don't necessarily consider Capricorns docile. Like once you get a Capricorn sort of worked up or upset, it's like all hell breaks loose. So when I think of this guy, we may want to like sort of blend into the background, not necessarily be seen this month, hide out. That might be some of the strategy. Do things in the dark, so to speak, and not that way, you dirty-minded Capricorn. But you know what I mean? Like, we may not want to tell everybody everything that we're doing. We may not want to be totally, like, transparent this month. We'll see what happens in the cards, but that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. Ultimately, the possum is like a fairly peaceful animal. He's not going to, harm you. He usually will go out of his way to sort of not get caught up in the conflict. So I sort of think that would be something that Capricorn may want to do this month. Strategize and be wise about where you get involved, how you get involved, in what ways you get involved. Having this backup plan would be about like thinking things all the way through, maybe not revealing all of your secrets just yet or everything that you're doing. Keep some of it to yourself so that you can kind of maybe shift things, change things, anything that you might find that you need to do as you're moving forward without others affecting it. Let me see here. Sorry, my throat is super dry. Okay, this first card is the center card for the month. It tells me sort of where the Capricorns will be centered at the majority of the month. You won't be in this the entire time of the month, but it gives me an insight into where what you guys could be like, how you could be experiencing the month, where your focus is for the majority of the month, and also what you could potentially be creating for the future. Okay, I love it. So this is the King of Cups. This was actually in the foundation of Virgo. I love that this is water sign, right? So this is complementary to Capricorn's energy. And I love that it's a king card, which makes me feel very much like sort of Capricornian energy. Capricorns tend to be a little bit of authoritative in their way of doing things. They want to be in control. So I like that this is a king, but I like that the cups aspect of it is sort of emotive, in touch with our emotions, feeling whole, feeling complete, feeling honored, either by ourselves, hopefully maybe by those around us, but I certainly feel like this feels like a really good center for my Capricorns. Experiencing like sort of gentleness towards others, appreciation of others. Sorry, I need more water. I ate my lunch kind of fast to get back here to do this reading. And I think some of it's stuck on the back of my throat. How weird. Also, this idea, like I feel like there could be, I mean, can be sort of like, I wouldn't call it a romantic card, but it's about sort of feeling loving and caring towards either ourselves or our environment. And I kind of like that this is our center. It feels like a very positive card to have for Capricorn this month. So let's look at the other cards and see what's going on. The next card is the Foundation. This is from the past. It tells me a little bit about sort of what was going on in the past that opened the door for things to be the way that it is. It can be the memory of this card that's sort of holding everything in place or pushing everything sort of forward. So let's see what that is. This is the Eight of Wands. So the Eight of Wands can indicate sort of messages, movement towards something quite quickly. Wands would indicate the element of fire or that of the spirit. Sometimes the Eight of Wands can be kind of like a love card in a way that I don't get that necessarily with this particular drawing, but it does indicate sometimes a sort of what's the word, like a declaration of love. And moving towards that energy. When I look at this in the past, it feels like we've been moving, Capricorn has potentially been moving towards whatever it is that they desire, taking sort of steps, taking fast movement. I love that the King of Cups is still in the center, which says to me that we're still focused on kind of making our life better for the right reasons, focusing on the things that feel right, that connect us, that where we don't feel disassociated, where we feel connected and in appreciation versus not. I like that the Eight of Wands is underneath everything in this foundation space, meaning that the goal is still somewhere in the back of our mind to continue to move forward in a sort of actionable way where we're taking responsibility for what we do and how we get there, moving it forward in this state of sort of positivity and what we truly desire at a deeper level. The emotions of that in the King of Cups is certainly showing itself to us. This strategy, though, of the opossum kind of feels a little bit like in the background, though. I'm going to say that because I don't know why, but I'm sort of obsessed with the fact that he moves at night and he kind of avoids interactions as best he can. Like opossums kind of like hang out on their own. They don't, they're not aggressive in that way. I mean, if you fuck with an opossum, probably it would be aggressive, but for the most part, they're going to try and stay away from you. And so I think he's kind of hidden. There's a sort of vulnerability to him that I also feel like could be a little bit in that King of Cups and in the Eight of Wands, because it's like sometimes when we go after the thing that we want, it could feel a little bit scary or intense, right? But I do feel like with these two cards, that the goal here is about bringing ourselves emotional happiness and joy, and we're doing it from a very real place. So I like that. Let's look at this Spirit Soul card. This tells me where your spirit or soul is at, or what it wants you to focus on, what it wants you to do. So here's some of that night energy, that hidden energy that I was talking about with this opossum. This is the Two of Swords. To me, this indicates, let me just look at this for a minute. Two of Swords would indicate indecision, right? It's the element of air in the mental realm. Twos usually indicate also sort of partnerships or, coupling, sort of coming closer to, another. That can sometimes be a person outside of ourselves. That can also be sort of an aspect of ourselves where we're getting to know ourselves a little bit better. When I look at this being in the spirit position, I don't think our spirit necessarily wants us to make a decision. What I think is going on here is it sort of feels to me like There's a lot of darkness around these two cards, right? When we look at this Eight of Wands, it seems like there's a dark night with a moon. And then in the Two of Swords, there's a dark night with the moon. And those are both surrounding this King of Cups. Like, I kind of feel like, is there a darkness that sort of Capricorn has maybe been running from, or avoiding, or trying to move clear of, get away from? And I think that the Two of Swords indicates that, like, sort of our spirit is asking us to kind of take this blindfold off and make a decision. Sort of maybe look at where we're at and what we're doing. Are we setting ourselves up for the best possible outcome, or do we need a better strategy or a backup plan? Are we being sort of wise about what we're doing? Or are we sort of moving in the dark, like tripping over ourselves and like banging into walls and doing the best we can? And there's nothing that's wrong about that, but I just sort of feel like that's kind of this Two of Swords. It's sort of like we need to maybe be listening a little bit more to our emotions, because I like that King of Cups in the center. I feel like he feels really good to be there. He feels really solid. And the Eight of Wands is not necessarily a bad card. I just feel like sometimes, are we running away? Are we running towards something to get away from something else? And so does, like, it's almost like, is the plan in place? Is it solid enough? Or are we just doing it so that we can get, like, kind of away from whatever it is that we don't want to see or deal with? Does that make sense? That's sort of the darkness that I see in these two cards. It's kind of like a weird, vague feeling that I feel like, because the Eight of Wands is not necessarily a bad card, but to me, in this particular card, in the art, it's kind of tying into that Two of Swords, which feels like conflicted, and like our spirit is saying, okay, like, come on, Capricorn, what are you doing? You know what you want, you know what you feel. You need to get your sort of thoughts clear, and you need to sort of do maybe the right thing, or for the right reasons, is kind of the feeling that I'm getting, instead of, like, you know, making decisions to avoid something. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So the next two cards are the outside influences. These are things that are affecting you in the month of February. They could be either positive or negative. They can be sometimes people, sometimes events, sometimes things more vague, like belief systems and energies that are having an effect on us. So we have the Star, which is one of my favorite cards. It's Aquarian energy. We are in Aquarius season right now in the first half of February, so that's completely good. There's room for expansion. There's room for opportunity. There's room for peace. There's room for just sort of, like, I think, realization in this Star card, finding sort of the answers within ourselves. I love that the King of Cups is right next to it. To me, it feels like when we connect to ourselves and our emotions and how things feel, we might be able to see more clearly and sort of tap into this expansive star energy. It is major arcana, so it feels like there's good beneficial things coming in February. I'll also say too that the second half of February is Pisces season, so that would be also in line with the King of Cups energy. So that being Capricorn center, I feel like you guys can really reap the benefits of this star. Know that I get the feeling the star is going to be sort of subtle, or, you know, it may not come on like gangbusters, but we have to maybe not necessarily search for it, but we have to be paying close enough attention that we can see it when it comes. Does that make sense? And I'll say this too, like, I don't think the possums have great eyesight, if I remember correctly, right? I think that they work off of smell. I'm not 100% sure, but that's kind of all of this darkness too that's happening, the night sky and in the foundation and in the higher self is just like, are we really listening to what our intuition is telling us? Are we really listening in? Because I feel like we have to listen, or we have to pick up the more subtle energies of the stars, of the star card, to reap the benefit that it brings with it. But it certainly brings a lot of opportunity and benefit. So pay attention for those when they come to you from the outside. This can come to us through situations. I wouldn't call this necessarily a people card where it would be a specific Aquarian that would help you, but it could just be the energy of the season that's wanting to bless you. So be aware and take it as you can. The next card is the other outside influence, is the Death card. It's funny, you guys have black cats all around you. Well, black and white in the bottom, but these black cats around you. The Death card, to me, that's Scorpio energy. That's about transformation, certainly. Again, we have another dark card. Like, I feel like Capricorn's trying to get to something, but they're also sort of, it's this feeling of like trying to avoid something. Like, I want to ask you, what is it that you're trying to avoid dealing with right now? That's the feeling that I'm getting from these cards, because this Death card also indicates that too, to me, like that it's inevitable, that it's something that's staring you right in the face, that you're going to have to face. It's going to be big. It's going to be impactful. It's probably a little bit scary. It's not necessarily the most fun thing you want to deal with right now, but it's there, and it wants to sort of it wants your attention so that it can transform itself, right? Because death is like just part of a cycle, ultimately. Yes, death is sad, it's horrible, and all of those sort of things, but the metaphorical death to me feels like it's something that you can't avoid. No matter how much you use that Eight of Wands to run from it, it's going to keep resurfacing or keep coming back, even if you are coming with this like sort of best of intentions, King of Cups energy. If you're focused on trying to make things better from a really pure and honest place, which I think you are with that King of Cups, if you don't really truly address whatever it is that you've been avoiding, or whatever it is, like patterns that have been repeating, they're going to keep coming at you. They're going to keep sort of, and I kind of feel like with Death and the Star, there's an opportunity to free ourselves this month. There is an opportunity to experience the peace that's within the Star, but we have to go through the transformation of the Death. We have to let certain things, whatever it is that we keep repeating or doing or avoiding, we have to sort of address it. We have to face it. It's like that Two of Swords up above. It's like we have to make a choice to stop and take the blindfold off. Stop walking the tightrope. Our spirit wants us to do that, and to like, face it head on. When we do that, because we certainly have the capacity to, what's the word? Like, I don't want to say defeat it, because you can't defeat death, but I kind of feel like whatever we've maybe spent a large part of our life avoiding, or, the last, I don't know how long we've been avoiding it, because that Eight of Wands feels like it's moving away from something in an effort, yes, to move towards something, but it's like really the whole impetus for the movement was to get away from the thing you didn't want to deal with. But that thing that you don't want to deal with, Capricorn, I feel like it's following you in that Death card. And it's like, I almost feel like with that Eight of Wands, if you don't turn around and look at it, address it, and let it sort of die, it doesn't ever transform, and you don't ever get to really experience the peace that comes with it, or enjoy the outcome of the situation ultimately, which is what the King of Cups wants to do. Now, the next card is the potential outcomes card. This tells me where it's going to end out for the majority of the Capricorns, barring that nothing major changes, right? If this is a negative card, we can use it as a warning to make choices and changes in our life through free will to affect the outcome, so it is not set in stone. But if this is a good card, we can take heart in the fact that we're naturally heading to it and don't have to do much to change it. So this is the Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords indicates itself as the liar, cheater, stealer card. I don't really like this card. I kind of feel like there's something Capricorn either doesn't want to deal with, they don't want to see, they don't want to fix, they don't want to, like, it's almost like the feeling is like, oh, if I just move over there, then I don't have to deal with what's here. And that's not really the case. And I feel like the Star card wants to come in and give us that peace and that blessing, and of having addressed it. We want that freedom. That's the King of Cups is looking for that. You deserve it. It's like, I almost feel like this is like there's something where Capricorn's being so hard on themselves. They need to sort of let up the judgment or the restriction that you place on yourself. That's the Two of Swords and the higher self too. The Seven of Swords indicates to me, or the way that I'm sort of interpreting it, is by month's end, we could still feel a little bit stuck. We could still feel like we're not quite there yet, that we haven't really arrived, that, if we're trying to fix something, how do I want to describe this? It's almost like we're trying to fix something internal through external movement. And it's not going to ever fix it, if that makes any sense. Like that death card brings with it a gift. Like I feel like that death card wants you to sort of, this is so weird. It wants you to kind of sit with it and face it. If you don't, it's just going to kind of come up on you anyways, so to speak. And so I get the feeling with the Seven of Swords that the majority of the Capricorns aren't going to want to face it, right? We're going to want to like continue to sort of lie, cheat, or steal. Not calling you guys liars, cheaters, or stealers, but it's this idea of like sort of cheating the death card, right? How do I want to say this? Like we're sort of still trying to move to the next thing to kind of hope that that will make us feel better or whatever. And there's still something going on. I mean, for some of you, this could be like a depression thing too. That's also the darkness in the upper and lower cards and the death card too. It's sort of like we have to face some of this stuff that goes on within ourselves so that we can productively address it, so that we can free ourselves enough to experience the peace of the Star card. Because if we keep just sort of dodging it and not dealing with it, it's just going to continue to dog us. Like it's going to continue to keep showing up. And so my feeling is not to like take away hope. Remember, none of this, the outcome card is not set in stone. It just is giving me indication that the majority of the Capricorns, because you guys are such strong individuals and you maybe don't want to get dragged down into the heaviness of all of whatever it is you're trying to avoid, you may very well like choose not to and like look the other way or try and, you know, lie to yourself and tell yourself, oh no, it's not as bad as I think it is, or no, I'm over that. I'm not going to deal with the sadness around that or whatever. And really, that's not necessarily the truth. And in some ways, you're cheating yourself of that opportunity. That's the feeling that I get for Capricorn. I hope this reading makes sense. Please be aware that, you know, there is options for positive movement this month, but you have to be willing to sort of face whatever it is you don't want to face, Capricorn. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel if you like. I hope you guys have a wonderful February, and I will see you guys next month. You can always join me on the YouTube channel every day for the daily forecast, and I will see you guys later. All right, take care. Bye-bye.